All right, so this should be a quick video on special right triangles. Those are our 45, 45, 90 triangles and our 30, 60, 90 triangles. So let's go ahead and get started on this and see if you can recall what you learned in geometry. All right, so this is a 45, 45, 90 triangle, and what it says is that if you have a right triangle with the two acute angles being congruent, 45 degrees and 45 degrees, then you know these two sides are congruent, and we can say they have a length of x. And by doing the Pythagorean theorem, you'll see that the third side, the hypotenuse, the longest side, is x root 2, okay? You can give yourself any examples, so let's say x was 5 instead. So if I did 5 squared plus 5 squared equals c squared, I get 25 plus 25, which is 50 equals c squared. If I square rooted, I'd have root 50 is equal to c. And then if I simplify that, 25 goes in there twice, so it's 5 root 2. So it'd be 5, 5, 5 root 2. And this will work with anything that you do. So the shortcut is just knowing that. It's knowing that the two sides are equivalent in length, and then your hypotenuse is root 2 times bigger than that, okay? All right, then we have 30, 60, 90 triangles. 30, 60, 90 triangles, we have a pattern of this. Across from our 30-degree angle, across from our 30-degree angle is our shortest side, which we will call a length of x. I tend to use w's instead of x's, but it doesn't matter. And then across from your across from your right angle is your hypotenuse, and it has a length that is double that. So that is your longest side, and it's double the shortest side. Then across from your 60-degree angle, you have the length of this side, which we are saying root 3 times more than your shortest side. So it's root 3 times longer than your shortest side, okay? All right, so let's go ahead and see if we can follow the pattern. So this is gonna be a quick video because it looks like, oh my God, we have 15 to do, but it's noticing the pattern, right? Okay, so if you look at this one, it's a 45, 45, 90 triangle, all right? The two legs are congruent, 10 and 10, and then the hypotenuse is root 2 times bigger than that, so 10 root 2. This one right here, I have the hypotenuse of my 45, 45, 90 triangle is 9 root 2, and I know that my legs are root 2 times smaller than that. So dividing that by root 2, I get 9. 9 and 9. All right, so 9, 9, 9 root 2. All right, this time I have that my sides are 13 root 3. So 13 root 3 and 13 root 3, I know it's a 45, 45, 90 triangle. And then my hypotenuse is root 2 times as big as that. So 13 root 3 times root 2. You can multiply these radicals to root 6, and root 6 is not simplifiable, so it's 13 root 6. It's not a beautiful answer, but it's just using these ideas here. All right, next we have a hypotenuse that it's 14, and I know these two sides are congruent, right? So I know that my short sides, or my two congruent legs, are root 2 times smaller than that hypotenuse. So usually I can just say, oh, divide by root 2. If there's a root 2 here, right, I would divide by root 2. It's 14. I can just look at it and say it's that 14, but that's not happening here. So I have to say, all right, well, I need to divide this by root 2. And we're not going to say our sides are 14 divided by root 2 and 14 divided by root 2 because we want to rationalize that. So to rationalize this, we want to make sure that there's no radical in the denominator anymore. So if you multiply a radical by itself, all right, root 2 times root 2, that gives us root 4, which is 2. So that's taken care of, but I can't just multiply the denominator by root 2. I have to multiply the numerator by that because this is equivalent to 1, so I'm not changing its value. I get 14 root 2 over 2, and then this is simplifiable. 14 divided by 2 is 7, so I end up with 7 root 2. So this is 7, that's not a pretty 7 at all. This is 7 root 2 and 7 root 2. So now I just did a bunch of math here, right? Where I said I was dividing by root 2. I got to multiply by root 2 over root 2 to rationalize the denominator. I have to simplify. But let's see how we can go from 14 to 7 root 2 quicker, all right? So realize that we ended up having to divide that 14 by 2 and multiply it by root 2, right? Instead of going through these steps here, dividing by root 2 is the same thing as multiplying by root 2 and dividing by 2, because that's the process of rationalizing. So my fast track is when my hypotenuse is a whole number and not a whole number root 2, is divide it by 2 and multiply it by root 2. Okay, so divide it by 2 is 7, multiply it by root 2 is 7 root 2. See if you can get the pattern here, all right? So I want my two congruent sides. I can divide by root 2 and rationalize, or I can say divide by 2, which is 6, multiply root 2 is 6 root 2. 6 root 2, 6 root 2, and 12. And now, if I didn't have this, I can say multiply it by root 2. I get 6 times 2, which is 12. See how that works? Go ahead and try this one. Divide by 2, 9 halves. Multiply root 2. 9 root 2 over 2. 9 root 2 over 2. 9 halves is not simplifiable. I guess you could put 4.5 root 2, but that's not prettier. All right, let's try some 30, 60, 90 triangles. Okay, and we're going to develop the same type of thought here. All right, so remember, across from your shortest side, across from your 30 degrees is your shortest side. Across from your 90-degree angle is your hypotenuse, which is double that. Across from your 60-degree angle is root 3 times bigger than your shortest side, so 8 root 3. Let's try that again. So we have our biggest side this time is 18, so that means our smallest side is half of that, 9. And then across from our 60-degree angle is root 3 times bigger than our smallest side. Going here, we have across from our 60-degree angle. Okay, so if I want my smallest side, I have to divide by root 3, which is 7. All right, or just look at the number in front of the root 3. And then double that for my hypotenuse. Okay. All right, here I got across from my 30-degree angle is my shortest side. So across from my 90-degree angle is double that. Double 7 root 3 is 14 root 3. And across from my 60-degree angle is root 3 times bigger than that. So 14 root 3, and then root 3 times bigger than that. So this is 3. 14 times 3 is 42. Okay. Looking at this one, I got across from my 60-degree angle. So remember, my 60-degree angle is my short side times root 3. And if I need my short side, I need to divide by root 3. So I'm doing 15 divided by root 3. Now, if we learned anything from the last one, dividing by root 3 is the same thing as multiplying by root 3 and dividing by 3. Okay, so this is the shortcut. Multiply by root 3, divide by 3, or you can just divide by root 3 and rationalize. Okay, I shouldn't say just because that's the longer way. So I'm going to do the fast track way of dividing it by 3, which is 5, multiplying by root 3, which is 5 root 3. See that? Okay. If you want to be sure and check this one out that I did it right, rationalize this, all right? Times root 3 over 3, 15 root 3 over 3. This simplifies to 5 root 3. Oh, my shortcut does work, okay? All right, so lastly, I need my biggest side. It's double my smallest side, so double 5 root 3 is 10 root 3. Next one, I have across from my 60 degrees, so go ahead and try this one. All right, so that's the side that's root 3 times bigger than my small side, so I need to divide by root 3, or fast track, divide by 3, which is 9, multiply by root 3. Double that for my biggest side, 18 root 3. Here's the next one. Actually, pause the video, try the last 4. Try the last 3. All right, let's see how you did. This is our easiest one, given across from your 30 is 12. Across from my 60 is root 3 times bigger than that. Across from my 90 is double my shortest side. So that, I don't know why I put a degree there. This is the ideal one, right? Here, I gave you across from 90, which is like the next most ideal one. Across from 90 is my biggest side, which is double my smallest side. So my smallest side is 6. And then across from my 60 is root 3 times bigger than my smallest side. Lastly, this is my like least favorite, not least favorite, but like this is the one that requires the most thought, right? I got across from my 60-degree angle, so I need to divide by root 3 to get my smallest side. I got across from my 60-degree angle, so I need to divide by root 3 to get my smallest side, which is the same thing as dividing by 3, 4, and multiplying by root 3, 3. My biggest side across from my 90-degree angle is double that. So double 4 root 3, 8 root 3. All right, hopefully that wasn't too much for you. Special right triangles, but that's it for what we're looking at.